Hello and welcome to the Empower Couples podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team no matter the challenge that you face. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And this is our first year as parents in review and really sharing about how our marriage has changed, what's felt the hardest, and what keeps us united.
Yes, our baby girl, Skye Noel, is 1. And if you're listening to this when it comes out, then she's maybe 1 year and 1 day. Her birthday is this week. She was born 12 days late on December 21st, 2021. A lot of 1s and 2s there. And it's been quite the year for us. And we've been reminiscing a bit, but we prepared some questions to ask each other. And we haven't really prepared to answer them. So I'm actually going to hear Aaron's answer for the first time, just like you. But we wanted to do this as well because we get a lot of questions from couples, both online and then the couples that we work with privately in our sessions, about how to really maintain the marriage once you become parents, because it does add a layer of complexity. There are some very real challenges, but also some really amazing blessings that come with it. And so I actually put up a question box on Instagram to just hear more recently how people's marriage has changed since becoming parents. And some of the challenges, the very real challenges, were submitted. So just to read them, number 1, we heard we became roommates, right? And we can relate to that sometimes, right? As like you're just doing life. Another one, hard to make time for each other. Another, different parenting styles. One of us is more authoritative and the other is more, permissive or wants to follow kind of the gentle parenting style. Another being, I lost my identity. We both lost ourselves in this process. A division of labor seems unequal. And this person in particular said, as the mom, I feel like I'm doing 80% of it. Another was, we're drained of energy by the end of the day. We have nothing left for each other. And then also, we had to learn to be transparent of our feelings because no sleep could make us mean. So I was reading some of these here, and of course there were many others, but it felt like these synthesized them all into it. And look, that doesn't mean that parenting or having children, which are a huge blessing, is ruining marriage, right? That's not the point of this. We're going to share some blessings as well. But I think it's important we all have a safe space to discuss the very real things we face and how it does change things. It really does. And I don't think I was prepared quite for the amount of change. But we don't want you to hear those things and be like, man, seems like everybody thinks that, kids are ruining marriage. That's not it. It's just that without, bringing our attention to it and without really focusing on it, marriage can become harder. And for some people, feel like it declines after having kids. So it takes focus, for sure. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, it's a massive change in responsibility. And I've been listening to a lot of different things on responsibility, the difference that is for men and women. And maybe I'll be able to have the opportunity to share a little bit here. But men need a sense of responsibility, as on like taking something on towards your aim, your vision, your goal, your path in life. And it's taking on responsibility, not as an obligation or a burden per sense, but it's like you have to take on things to do towards that aim. And in that responsibility gives you a sense of achievement, accomplishment, happiness, fulfillment. And I don't know if this is the right analogy per se, but if you were to start your own business or you were to become the CEO of a business, like that's an awesome thing to do. And you are going to take on a lot of responsibility in doing that. So the outcome of running a business isn't going to be an easy thing. It can be fulfilling, but there's going to be a lot to do. And then think about that from any aspect. Maybe you run a ministry division at your church and you're going to lead that. Okay, so that's going to be a lot of responsibility. There's going to be a lot of effort and time that you have to put into that, and it will be also fulfilling as well as challenging to manage people, manage kids. And so to me, that is a context for parenting. And I don't know if we just don't think of like all that it's going to take, but raising a child is a huge responsibility. And that's going to bring challenges. It's going to bring changes, like you mentioned, changes in how much time you have, changes in how much energy you have to put out, changes in your focus, your identity, your balance, obviously, between the effort of the two of you as now parents. And of course, it's a fulfilling thing to do. And like literally almost anything else, it's going to have changes and responsibilities that can feel hard and challenging.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that each stage of parenting is like a different season. So we're just finishing year 1. We know already this is going to be very different than next year is. And so that's what we're also being prepared for is we aren't going to assume that next year will feel just like this year, because it's going to be totally different. She's going to be going to Montessori for a few hours in the day, and it's going to be different than how much I felt I was home this first year. Like I felt like I had cabin fever being home so much.
Oh, you're taking mine.
Right? Or when she's going to be 5. And so why don't we dive into these questions we have for each other because they'll really hear about it.
Well, one thing I did want to say too, I actually feel like even in the first year, there were 3 pretty distinct seasons even within that.
Oh, yes.
And I do get what you mean. There have been a lot of parents that have come up to me and said, like, well, they're looking at Skye and like, oh, she's so cute. And I want to say that later too. I do think she is honestly so cute.
She is. I know. I love her.
And then I actually had a guy yesterday while you were doing some stocking stuffer shopping. I made sure I articulated that.
I know.
Stocking stuffer shopping. He was an older guy, and his daughter was like 22, off from college, and he like paused me. He said, really take this time in. And he's like, I often think about my daughter being this age.
Aw.
And he's like, I reflect on that a lot. So I've been hearing that, and I think for me, I've been doing a good job of the moments that I'm putting her down to sleep at night, and I'm reading a book to her. I'm really just taking in as many of the moments as I can because thankfully people have been sharing that with us.
I really love that. Okay, so let's go into the first question that we're going to ask each other, and we don't know what each of us will say. Number 1, Aaron, for you. What's changed for the better between us? Can you identify, like in our marriage, something that's changed for the better?
I think the word is playfulness. I think when I reflect on not having Skye, that's kind of sad.
Aww. What was life before her?
The time before we were doing this business, we were still, in our house a lot, but we were able to go out, and this is kind of going to lead to what I feel was also challenging. But basically, I don't want to say we felt kind of stuck, but we could and both have said there was like a 2-year period where we felt like our business was kind of the same year over year. And maybe we were getting to a place where we felt maybe we were doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it got like pretty routine. And having Skye, and probably more so her being, I want to say 6 months plus, that there's a real playfulness and a joy that comes from interacting with her because she's always smiling and laughing. And I guess even when we were earlier on and navigating all the new things with naps and eating and time and all that, there was a certain, I think, lightness and playfulness that was just now between us that wasn't there before.
And I think we set that intention though, right? Like we set the intention to be playful. That was one thing we wanted her to see, was more of our childlike spirits, not just the serious adults.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that being true. And I don't know, for me, we set that intention, but it's kind of more so who she is too. I think that just kind of brings a lightness and a playfulness. So
definitely.
What about for you? What's changed for the better?
Yeah, I love what you said. I think that we have even more grace for each other. That doesn't mean that we don't get irritated or kind of have moments of defensiveness once in a while, but because we're so committed to our experience with her, and I can tell, her energy changes the moment that we start bickering. And so because I'm so committed to the experience she has, I think we bounce back faster. We have more grace for each other. We talk it out. We are sure we work through it so that we can get back to more joy, because the days do fly by. So that's the thing I thought of, was just more grace. We bounce back faster because we're committed to that, right? It's not by accident.
If I was to even add something to that, I would say more things are blips.
Yeah, we use the term blip to mean just something that we can just say is like, oh, that was just like a minor error, like a human moment, an imperfection.
We really do let it go. We're not going to invite you, the listener, to say, just let something go if it needs to be repaired.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've done the kind of repair that we've done, which is on everything, like nothing from the past is unrepaired for us. So when things do come up that are smaller, then I think you're right. Having Skye allows us to really look at each other and say, that is a blip, and we just move past it faster.
Yeah, I think that's great. So let's go to the second question. What's felt the hardest for you personally, Aaron Freeman, in doing like both marriage and now you have the responsibility of being a parent? Like what's just felt hardest year one?
I think it does fall into a certain level of conflict of identity. And that's kind of shown up some different ways. So in the action, in the day-to-day, I would say it is a cross between how extroverted I am and how high I am on the openness. And we were just sharing about this with friends of ours. We were doing a mastermind on something big we have coming next year, but we're not going to talk about it right now. And there is definitely a certain level in which I'm very focused on something and I like see it to completion. I'm very detail oriented, but only a certain period of time. Then I start to feel like this is very routine and I feel kind of bored. So I need that kind of new experience. And tying to extroversion, I get that by seeing people and going to cafes and meeting up with people, which is what I was able to do when we didn't have Skye. And so it really is this amount of time that I kind of need to be home and need to help you. And it's kind of at the same time a conflict of the identity. Like, am I this person that goes out into the world and is able to have new experiences with people and kind of go and do that when I feel like my social account is being a little depleted?
And you could do it whenever.
Yeah, and I could do whatever. I call up my friend Elliot, for example, and hey,
let's meet up.
Are you free the next 15 minutes? Right now, it's not only am I scheduling like over a week out, but sometimes you just need me to be home more. And there's getting smaller windows because she just went down to one nap a day. So I think that's the hardest thing overall. It's how much I have to be like just home and like just helping, just washing dishes, just cleaning up. And that routine is every day too. I think, and why that's challenging is, again, versus I could just go out and meet with someone or a group of guys or a group of people, or we could get couples together and do cacao, and then we could do that whenever we wanted.
Right, exactly. No, I get that, and I definitely am excited to see what year two brings, because I think we're coming out of that reclusive, more like being in the cave stage, which I'm excited about. So I can relate.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is that, 'cause I want to be authentic, is that like just the facts of it? Or did I share like the why it was hard emotionally?
I guess maybe share a little bit more. Like, what was the emotional impact of that?
So I was just thinking about that. If I'm listening to this podcast, it kind of was like the facts. So as far as that identity conflict, I feel like kind of constrained. Like I feel like at times it's not really up to me if I get to do the things for myself that I know are beneficial. So it's like I feel constrained. Sometimes I feel down. Sometimes I feel the routine is a certain kind of maybe bored feeling. So constrained, kind of bored, kind of down.
Yeah, I can relate to that for sure. Yeah, I mean, a few things come to mind because there's definitely been some hard parts of this year. Not going to lie. It's been the hardest year. And again, many blessings, and we're obsessed with Skye. Let's see, the first one that comes to mind is kind of a sense of like FOMO. Like, I think that I've felt a little bit like we've missed out on some experiences that we normally would have had. Like, we would always go somewhere international during the holidays. And that doesn't mean we couldn't. Like, we certainly could. It's just, it doesn't feel like the most natural choice right now. But, our friends would go on like these cool retreats, like, let's go to Hawaii, and we would see them and they're on their stories and they're traveling, or we're doing like this women's retreat, just us girls, and we're going somewhere cool, and it's like, oh, I'm not there. And so the little girl inside of me feels a little bit sometimes like just missing out. And I don't think that's caused like strain in our partnership, but more so maybe just my energy. Like I would kind of feel down a little bit and like I'm missing out, and therefore I might show up differently, with you. But yeah, that's definitely had my inner child feel like, oh, I'm not in the in crowd anymore, or I'm not there, and do I matter as much? Do they care about me as much? And I've actually taken the chance to share that with a couple of close friends, that I've had those moments of feeling like I'm afraid of losing them, or that I'm not going to be as relevant to them. And that's been powerful. And I think that had I kept holding that in, it could have come out as me like projecting something onto them. And then I could be like, fine, I'm not going to be friends with them anymore. Like it creates this whole projection story drama. But I revealed it to them, and like they really held space for me to say that. So that's been one of the first things that came to mind.
Oh, wow. Well, let's go to the next question, actually, and I'll pose it to you. What trait or habit do you think has kept us strong and united through these challenging days, or even these challenging aspects like what you just shared?
Gosh, okay, what trait or habit? I know we wrote these questions, but I'm like, oh, this is a good one. I would say we don't leave anything, at least 99%, I'll say, unacknowledged. Like we would say sorry if we felt sorry was needed. We would make sure we get it resolved and repaired. We don't let the clutter build up between us. And so if something rubs us the wrong way, if that didn't feel good, we get it handled. We talk through it, even if it's a short you and I had a little thing in the car yesterday, how I felt, and we talked through it in like 3, 4, 5 minutes so that we could really authentically be connected. So I think that's a habit, is like we don't leave the clutter building up. We repair it. We apologize. We take responsibility for our actions. And I mean, yeah, that's the first one. I know that there's more for me to elaborate on, but what comes to you?
Well, it wasn't what I thought for myself at first. It was, you said acknowledgement and then went a different route than I thought you were going to go. I will say I think we do a good job of acknowledging what the other person is doing. And when I thought about that, it might not be when the activity happens, but I do think we both, if there's a couple of days that go by, I think we've both done a good job of acknowledging what activities we appreciate that the other one is doing. Like you've told me, I appreciate how much I do on the dishes and like picking up toys and always doing the bedtime nap.
Well, and like I'll even say like our taxes, like you're doing a lot for that too, right? Like the big things too.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess I didn't think, not even, that's true. Non-parenting in a sense related. Yeah, you've acknowledged me for the things I've been doing outside of that. And I think I've acknowledged you for how much you are so consistent on social media, on making our podcast titles, making sure that we get a podcast in every week.
What about the mom things? Those are all business.
Well, no, you just did that for me.
Okay.
You have to let me get to the list here. And then I said the other day how much you are there for Skye. More so, I was reminded of this yesterday, how playful you are with her. Your attitude is, I would even go as far as to say 100% now. You are 100% joyful with her when you're playing with her, and that really is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love the acknowledgement piece.
You could get frustrated, but it's not going to be with her. Like, you might share frustration with me or your mom or our nanny, for example, but it's like never that way when you're with her. Oh,
thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I bring a lot of intention to my time with her. Yeah, I love what you said about just acknowledging each other for everything that we do. So I think the next thing would be, and it isn't even one that's written, but, well, I guess it kind of is what's a mistake you think that we make? Or you could direct it at me, like maybe we each share a mistake that the other person makes, not blaming or not, trying to call each other out, but I'm curious to hear. Like, you can really be honest. A mistake you think I make.
Well, maybe just because it's the most present one,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like happened recently. I can tell when you're getting overwhelmed with activities,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that looks nowadays, because Skye's down to one nap and she really, really wants to be around you more than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also much more vocal.
Mm-hmm.
And so she'll vocalize wanting to be by you rather than me hold her, or she'll be at your leg wanting to have you hold her, and we'll be vocal about that. So the demand on you, especially at dinners or any meal, is that it's really you. So you don't get to sit down or really focus on your meal, or if we happen to be with someone, to actually connect with them. You're the one having to be with Skye because I think she wants you the most. So anyway, all that being said, I could tell when that demand is starting to wear on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one thing I think you could do
Mistake.
better at, or the mistake, is like yesterday, you will share with me your complaint rather than what you need more of.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was our little incident in the car. Yes. Well, it started in the house and then it went into the car. It didn't last long, but yeah, I kind of was a little frustrated, and I didn't go straight to the what I need more of. I first focused on like, I'm a little frustrated that you da-da-da. So I didn't do it perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, it came out a little bit more like, I don't want to say projection, but I mean, why I took it kind of defensively was, you said, oh, you just get to sit there and sit back, relax, and have a
conversation.
I have a conversation. And it wasn't like I was sitting back relaxing. Like, I'm not on the couch. I'm not in another room. I'm not. And one before that was, I was literally just changing my clothes the night before.
And I'm like, where are you?
Yeah, and it wasn't like, hey, I need help here with the bath. It was like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, why are you spending so much time? I'm like, I literally am just changing my clothes so I can help with the bath. So again, I don't know if this is an expectation that anyone listening should have. I mean, all of our tools are about this, that you want to share the need. You don't want to share the complaint. Verbalizing a complaint is different than asserting your need.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's kind of like what I want more of.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe it doesn't come out that way every time. But
Yeah.
if I was to offer something up, it would just be sharing more what you need rather than, oh, so you just get to sit back. And like, I wasn't sitting back. I was just talking to your mom. If you need something,
right,
then share what you need.
Right. And we don't get this communication thing perfect, by the way. Like, as you can tell, we're human. We don't always get it right, and we apologize. Oh, you're right. I could have said that differently. I think it's funny because sometimes it's like, I do want you to know I'm frustrated, right? So it's like, I don't want to just tell you.
True. Yeah.
It's like, I kind of want you to know, like, oh, I'm feeling this. But you're right. I mean, we can always do better, right?
Well, I guess lastly, and maybe that's going to be the thing you say about me, there is definitely value in me being able to understand your experience. So maybe I'm stepping over that. Maybe I'm not giving you the space to do that.
We're working out. We're doing self-therapy right now. We're like really
well,
getting
yeah, so
it.
then what would you say? What's the mistake I'm making or something I could be better at?
It's something I've noticed as a difference between men and women recently is that women, not everyone, of course, nothing applies to everybody, but I noticed that more women tend to like narrate what they're doing. And I notice I've been doing that for you because we have so much, like we have stuff with Skye, we have stuff to do around the house, then we have our business stuff. I try to say out loud kind of like what I'm doing and why so that you are understanding. So for example, oh, hey, I'm going to just finish making our lunch and then I'll be in there into the office to help. Right? Just as like I'm trying to kind of keep you, oh, hey, I'm going to go clean this up and then I can come help you with that. Like I try to anticipate what you might be wondering or needing, whereas you and men, again, not everybody, but men can.
We can keep it to me. It's really fine.
Okay, Aaron Freeman can really be just like more doing your thing and in your head. And I'm wondering like, okay, you're making lunch, like, are you then going to come help me? Or, hey, we need to do the bath. Oh, you're changing your clothes? That would have been helpful if you told me you're changing your clothes. Like, you don't say it out loud. And we even did a reel on that, right? Like, say more out loud of what you're doing your thought process behind it, keep me in the loop, as opposed to like, you'll just do your thing. And then I'm wondering, so I narrate more and say out loud kind of the steps or what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll just do it. And I'm wondering, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not wanting to provide anything to what you're saying, so I don't want to counteract. I just want to receive.
Yeah.
I could say
no
something
feedback.
about that because I feel like it is a difference between men and women.
Mm-hmm. It totally is. And it doesn't mean like you're wrong and I'm right. It's just sometimes it'd be more helpful. And I've heard women say this before, like if you just it kind of explain things to me or said a little bit more out loud, like I need to know your thoughts and the order of things that you envision as opposed to like you just doing it.
Yeah.
So I think more outward communication would be amazing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it makes sense. And I think that is a difference between type personality and the behavior, right? The podcast we did recently, like where you can ask for change. And I think that one almost feels borderline like quote unquote personality-ish, but no, it's still a behavior. It's just because I do the same thing, or it's like we're in the same house. I'm like right here. Let me just do this. To me, it seems obvious that I could just do whatever the activity is, change my clothes, and not have to say it out loud.
Yeah.
I think that would be the complaint for men. Right, and which I was joking on yesterday. I started telling you everything I was doing.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and just so you know, it's number 1, and so it might be. And I'm like, okay, so we're joking about it. Okay, well, I want to preface this next question because, I mean, we've been together now, I think, been 10 years, and we have met many versions of each other. I feel we've evolved, we've changed. Like you're so different than you were a few years ago and definitely different than 10 years. And so we've met and explored different parts of each other and ourselves. And yet parenting has changed us again, I feel, in different ways. So
this is going to be a better way to do this, I think, than you had planned.
All right, let's hear it.
It's probably even more accurate to the actual change if you say how you think I've changed and I'll say how I think you've changed.
Okay. Yeah. And do we want to keep it like a positive change or just a neutral change, a negative change?
Just whatever is there.
Okay. All right. So I'll ask you first then. How do you think I have...
I was going to do that too.
Oh, man.
No, go ahead.
All right. How do you think I have fundamentally changed as a person since becoming a mom?
Well, the first why I changed it, because I knew what my initial answer would be. It definitely is around the nurturing. And it's so funny because for years we used to do that little
like
color personality thing. And it's like you used to say you were yellow, red. And there's a couple of friends of ours.
Red or like action. Oh, and the yellow is what, nurture?
Yeah, yellow is nurture, red is action, blue is blueprint and structure, green is knowledge. So you would say, yeah, I'm yellow, red, and me and our friends would look at each other like, Jocelyn is like 100% red.
Which is all action.
Like, what nurture part are you really talking about?
Because I used to be like a very just straight up, to the point action.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's actually why you're so great at the things that you do in our business. Having Skye has actually brought out the nurture, the yellow, that I think you must have always related to. But I would even say yellow is now the highest. And then the red, the action, the get things done is kind of secondary to that. So much more playful and loving and easygoing. And yeah, I guess that's nurturing. I have to think if that has played into your relationships. I hadn't thought that much.
Yeah, I kind of was wondering, how do you think that has impacted or influenced our marriage, our partnership?
Oh, well, I think you're more graceful with me. I think same thing, more easygoing, more lighthearted. I think a lot more things kind of roll off your back type of thing. We probably would have had more sticking points through a first year of having a child. But I think that nurture just really had you just kind of keep moving forward, let things maybe roll off your back and focus on what was going well and the playfulness and the joy.
Thank you. And by the way, for those of you listening, and I know the moms out there, we can be overwhelmed sometimes. I'm not perfect. I don't want you to hear that and be like, well, Jocelyn just has it figured out if she can be so graceful all the time. No, like, I am human. I have breakdowns. I have my moments.
Yeah, you get overwhelmed. Even, like I said, more so this past week, because I think going from that transition out of that last nap and her wanting to be around you and being vocal, I think has put a lot higher demand on you, even as far as time, because there's not as much of that break even for that nap. And it's funny for me to say this because now I hear all these conversations from parents before we were talking about that last nap, and it's like, wow, they were right. Just when you're not a parent, you're not in the experience enough to have that advice be really meaningful. It's like so many things that parents had said in the past, I'm like, wow, I really get.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, you want to find out from me?
Yeah.
So ask me the question.
So what has changed in me after becoming a parent?
I think definitely several things have like come to the forefront. Definitely. One that comes to mind, and maybe it's also because this wasn't just a parenting year change, but we also, as we've shared on many episodes, and some of you might be tired of hearing it, we just like had a big financial growth opportunity with the investment property not going as well and things like that, that finances was a big topic for us this year. And I've just seen you step into this like a whole other level of, I know it's kind of a weird word to use, but just like maturity, in the sense that because we're focused on our child now, it's not just about us, which we used to just kind of be a little more like, oh, want to invest into that? Yeah, go for it. Oh, like you want to go on this retreat? Yeah. Oh, you want to join this mastermind? Like we kind of had a little bit more of a free-spirited relationship to money. We definitely had structure. We're all about structure too. But my point is, I feel like you have really just taken on this, like, I am going to do what it takes for our family. And just this power. Like I've seen a whole other side of your power come through and your commitment to the goals that we have because of the life. We have this dream home that we want to be getting. We have these goals for her, like setting up her future. And so I just see us, I see you in your power at a whole other level. Like I don't have to, I think this is one thing I'm so grateful for you, is I don't have to manage you. I don't have to be like, hey, following up on, hey, you doing the taxes? Oh, by the way, what's happening with this? Like you are doing it. Like I'm just seeing this whole other like maturity, power, follow through, a whole other level has come through. Anything you want to ask or say about that?
Well, I think your question to me, if I believe this was right, was, well, how has that impacted our marriage, our partnership then?
I just feel like I can count on you, and it's attractive, and it just gives me a sense of peace. And I even just like have like a little bit of tears coming to my eyes. I just feel like I have a real partner, and I know that not everyone feels that. And sorry, this is calling out some men out there. If you aren't being reliable, if you aren't being powerful, your partner needs you. And it gives me so much peace, and we don't have to follow up all the time. So I'm just really grateful that I have you as a partner, and I've seen your power come through. And yeah, thanks for being here with me and doing life with me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know it's funny to get things like that, from a partner, and it might be easy to kind of fluff it off or not think I'm as powerful as I'd want to be or whatever, but I'm just going to receive what you're saying, and that's probably more of an accurate reality than what I have going on in my own mind and experience anyway. So
yes, and we'll have to do another episode sometime, you guys. We have created miracles, and we haven't created them. Miracles have been occurring in our life, which we have done the work to lead up to them being possible in many areas. And we're so grateful. We'll have to share some triumphs just in our business and our personal life. So that will come in the future. But I think that you and we saw these challenges that were showing up in our life, and we said, we together are going to overcome them. And we stepped into our power. I was telling, this is just a quick ending note, but I was talking to a client who was sharing on the phone that, she felt as though she had to be following up with her partner, and they were dealing with some financial challenges going on. And I really invited her into seeing how she could, grab his hand and say, this is the challenge together that we are going to overcome, but I need you. I need you to come by my side. We have to do this as a team. And I got a follow-up text that they had this powerful conversation and they're really stepping into their power together. And so my invitation for any of you listening who are parents, and maybe it's a hard season for you guys, maybe because being parents is hard in and of itself, but then you're also trying to do marriage, is identify those circumstances, those challenges, and see those as things you can overcome together and focus on how, even if that has to do with different parenting styles or you handle money differently. How are you two going to be a team and overcome that? How are you going to get on the same page? Do not have each other become the enemy. Do not let that happen in your partnership. Your kids need to see you as a united front. That doesn't mean you always agree, but that you work through it. So that's my challenge to you all. We can do this. It's not easy being parents. And if you are feeling my fire and my passion, and one of the ways that you want to improve as a couple and even in your parenting is with your communication, then take advantage of our Communication Mastery Bundle, which you get lifetime access to online trainings that you can do at your own pace to improve your communication, to change the way that you handle conflict, which is so important, especially if kids are watching you. And so go to onlinecouplesworkshops.com/communication bundle. I know that's a long URL, so it's also in the show notes, and get $50 off with the coupon code, write this down, 50 off altogether, the numbers 50 and then off, to get that discount of $50 off the Communication Mastery Bundle, because it is going to give you the critical must-have communication and conflict skills and tools that we promise you'll relate to, and you'll see how you can implement them in your relationship. With that, we hope you enjoyed this episode. For those of you parents out there, we are cheering you on. We are rooting for you, and continue to be a team together and work to overcome those challenges. We love you all, and we will talk to you on the next episode.